Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Sunday morning, and I have risen. I've risen from the dead out of my sleep, and the Lord is tricking me. He's tricking me because I um, I wanted to sleep this morning, and the Lord reminded me that I had not finished my message. When we left off a few days ago, I think part three, my camera cut off, my internet. It do some funny things. I got to figure this whole thing out. I don't know. So I needed to come back and grab that because initially I was saying to myself, ain't nobody interested in that anyway. But maybe somebody is interested in it. It may not be for today, but it may be for tomorrow. So I'm just going to be obedient with this whole thing. And we are still talking about race matters and the idea of being included. Because there are so many ideologies out there that are negative towards people of color, black people, mulattoes. When I say mulattoes, I'm talking about races that are not pure. So once there's some delusion, as it were, coming into a race, then you start to be looked at as something other than. A third, or two-thirds, or not human, or whatever the case may be. So I want to debunk some of those mindsets. And I want to encourage, once again, people of color, black folks, and to uplift them, to let them know that they are somebody. And I'll get into another message at some point because I want them to start acting like who they are. Because now there's some issues, there's some discrepancies as it relates to behavior. You don't act like you kings of Egypt, but we'll talk about that at some point. I want to educate, to inform, and to also uplift white folks to let them know that we all in this together. We have all been a part of the promise to Abraham. We've all been engrafted in, and hopefully, through my earlier messages on inclusion with race matters, I don't know if it's in part two or I don't know, where I talked about the argument with Paul and with the Galatians on traditions and the issues that Paul and Peter had. Peter was prejudiced towards the Gentiles, and Paul was called to the Gentiles. Yet he was of the lineage of the Jewish people. He was a Pharisee, so to speak. He was a Pharisee. So you put all that together, and he says now there's some issues here, and we need to handle that. Okay, so when we last talked, we left off, I believe, and I was trying to explain the issue with the Midianites, and we were trying to discover Zipporah. Zipporah. We were trying to discover her lineage. And remember, I said that Abraham had not just two sons, but he had six more sons. And let me parenthetically insert a word of encouragement in here right now that to all those that have been stepchildren, to all those that have been what do they call it now? Mixed families, or there's another word that they use for families. When you bring two families from two different circumstances, when you bring them all together, they call it something, I forget. But for all those, people can feel some kind of way, and for whatever mixture that came out of. It may have been a situation where a mother stepped out on a father, or a boyfriend. A father stepped out on his wife, and he got with a girlfriend, and you got a whole lot of stuff that has evolved out of something that wasn't according to the proper way to do things. And so here we got this stuff that's going on. In Abraham's case, you have Ishmael and you have Isaac. Sarah died. So as a result of Sarah's death, you get Keturah. Keturah and Abraham had 6 more sons. And so I want you to know that the other 6 count, because we don't talk about them. They are left out. They are an afterthought. People always focus on the 2, Ishmael and Isaac, and they are prominent figures. But I want you to understand and to embrace and to know that you are somebody too. Just because you're not mentioned. And this is a travesty, especially as it relates to the way that we have theologically presented the text, the Bible, the stories. We have not included everything as we should have from a cultural standpoint, so everybody can feel like they somebody. Because when you take the the family that is qualified, the family that is chosen, the family that is the elect family, the family of election. When you take that family and you just focus on that, again, going back to Segovia, one of the books that I refer to, when he talks about decolonizing the Bible, you leave out those folks from the margins. The margins are the mulattoes. The margins are the black people. The margins are the Cushites. The margins are the Ethiopian people. The margins are the Egyptian people, and that we don't engraft, we don't incorporate the wonder that they bring, the significance of who they are. So I want you today to understand that you are significant and that you are somebody. And just because something happened where it didn't happen correctly according to our society, it does not mean that you was a mistake. Hold your head up. Keep your head up. Look towards the hill from which cometh your help. And I want you to believe that God put something inside of you that was no different, no less than he put inside of the biological brother, the biological sister, whether it's step or not step, that, the parents may talk about, that the family may go to, and that they may, put them at the center. And then you on the sideline, and nobody knows your thoughts. Nobody knows how you feel. But I'm here to encourage you and to let you know that you somebody too. You ain't just some fly by night, some afterthought, some 1/3, 2/3 thing that is around, some dog, some animal. You are not. You are a person. You are a child of God. You were created and you were made in the image and the likeness of God. And God gave you favor. He gave you power. He anointed you. You are put here to do great exploits just like anybody else. Believe that. Be encouraged by that. Be blessed by that. You are somebody. And so let's pick this up, because I do want to end this. I want to keep on going into part 4 and part 5 and all that. Sometimes I get carried away with talking. You have to tell me to shut up. So the Midianites, we are where I left off at. I think where I left off at, where I was talking about, because I'm trying to get to Zipporah and her. Where did she come from? Was it was she Shemite, or was she a Hamite? there's a theological argument that comes from both sides. The folks that don't want to release the power, as it were, and don't scrub the text correctly, they want to hold on to the fact that she was a Shemite, and that's a theological debate. You take that however you want to. However, Scripture clearly tells us something else, and so we're gonna look at that and we'll weigh it, and you walk away with it the way that you want to walk away with it. In the end, what I'm going to show you is that no matter how you look at it through the engrafting process, when we look in the New Testament, and also as we visit Samuel, that we will discover that it didn't really matter, because God had already had you in mind, had everybody in mind, whether or not you were of the children of the election or not. That's important. Okay, so there was, as I said before, you had Abraham. After Sarah's death, he married Keturah, and Keturah, he begot 4 sons. The 4th son was Midian. Midian was the father of Jethro. Okay, Jethro was the father of Zipporah, which was the wife of Moses, the second wife. All right. I'm saying that because when we study lineages and the people's ancestral line, that's important, because now we have this Midianite woman. Supposedly, she's this Midianite woman. That's what some would want us to believe, because they don't want to give deference to possibly another possibility, if you will. Okay, so we will say that for the sake of that argument, that she is a Shemite, because she did come from Abraham. All right, according to this text, to put it in perspective as it relates to Abraham's 4th son from Keturah, which would make the bloodline go all the way back to Abraham, which would put you Shemitic and not Humitic or Hamitic. Okay? Now, so let's see. So now we find the scripture, and it's going to talk about 2 different Midianites that are occupying different geographical locations. Okay. Where is my Bible? All right. So I got up early today, so I gotta get myself together. So let's look at it. Occupying 2 different locations. One Midianite, okay, dwelt on the east side of the Dead Sea, next to the Moabites. And those Midianites, they waged war against Israel. We're going to look at it. But they waged war. Now, as we navigate through the biblical text, what we will discover is that those Midianites possibly were traced back to Abraham. And it is also a reflection of what is going on now as it relates to the war of brothers fighting against brothers. How does Midian fight against Israel? If you are a part of Abraham, that's your lineage, because you are a son. All right, watch it. He was a son just like Isaac and Ishmael. It's the same way as Isaac and Ishmael, which were sons, they warred against each other. There was a discrepancy. You have Mount Sinai on one hand, or No, we won't. I won't even get into that yet. But you have Ishmael, the son of the promise. I mean, not the promise, but wanted to be a son of the promise. And you have Isaac, the son of promise. Then out of that, you have Isaac begets Esau and Jacob. Esau and Jacob had an issue with the birthright. Remember that. So these two brothers, they war against each other. And if we look at that whole thing, it's even today where you have a Philistine and Israel, they're warring against each other today. So I just want you to see how, even though if we exclude certain people to show you how messed up even the elect can be, and God still got to work, he got to work that out amongst them. So let's just look at this whole Midian thing, because we are focused on Zipporah being a Shemite, and we'll get at to her. But Midian also could have been somebody else. Let's look at the text. Let me get another Bible here, because I got. Oh Lord, I ain't got my glasses, Jesus. I ain't got my glasses. So let's look at. Ooh wee. Hold on a second. I gotta get my glasses. Jesus, help me. I can't see nothing. I can't see nothing. I apologize. I got about 4 different Bibles, and I gotta be able to read, y'all. I am so sorry. But I gotta be able to see. Did you heard me? I gotta be able to see. All right. So let's look at Numbers 22 and 4. Let's look at Numbers 22 and 4. Okay. Numbers 22 and 4. Oh, I may end up getting into another part, because again, let me just take my time, man. Those of you that are going to listen and going to be with me, you're going to be with me. Those that are not, I can't worry about it. I'm doing what the Lord say do, and I'll let God figure all that out. I told you from the beginning, if it was up to me, I was cool. I was doing me. And the Lord knocked on my door, told me to do something else. All right. So, Numbers 22. I don't know why I keep on going to this crazy Bible. This is the companion Bible. It's what I study out of, but it's not the Bible that I carry. So 22 and 4. Now watch this. It says, "And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, Now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of the Moabites at that time." Now, look at this. It says, "And Moab said unto the elders of Midian." He's talking to the Midianites. Now, if he said to the elders of Midian, doesn't that sound like that was the 4th son of Abraham? And what does it sound like they doing? It says that the Midian elders of the Midian, now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of the Moabites at that time. If you continue to read, you will discover, and I don't have time to get into all of it right now, that even if you go up to verse 3, let's just do it, verse 3, and it says, "And Moab was sore afraid of the people, because they were many," talking about the children of Israel, And Moab was distressed because the children of Israel, because of the children of Israel. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, now shall this company lick up. Okay. Now we talking about Israel, and we talking about Midian being allies with Moab. All right. So we can see, I said that they waged war. I also gave you an example of how Isaac and Ishmael, war. Esau, Jacob, war. Israel, Palestine, right now, modern day, war. All right. Look at what's going on. Judges 7:7 says, let's see what that says. What does it say? Judges 7:7. All right. I know it's Sunday, but Sunday Bible Sunday. So 7:7 says, and the Lord said unto Gideon, by the 300 men that lapped will I save you and deliver the Midianites into thine hand, and let all the other people go, every man unto his place. Now, what is that? That sounds like God is going to defend the children of Israel against Midian. Now, that sound like there's an issue, right? There's a war. And when we look at it, because we're talking about being included or excluded, and those that may have been from the margins, people not of color, or people of people that were black, or people that were mulattoes, that were mixed, them not being included in. All right, that's ultimately where I'm going to get to with this whole piece. So here we can see where there's an issue with Midian, and Midian was the father of Jethro. Jethro was the father of Zipporah. Okay, but we see an issue. That's one Midian. Now, the other branch, which they don't talk about, okay, we don't really make mention of this right here. There was another branch though, okay, because people say, well, you know, you had the Midianites. Well, now, wait a minute. There might have been another Midianite somewhere. The other branch of the Midianites were called Cushites, and they dwelt on the northeast side of the Red Sea next to Sinai of Horeb, according to Exodus 3:1 and 18:5. So let's look at Exodus 3:1. Genesis. Okay, Exodus. I know this seems a little boring, but it's boring until you get into trouble. It's boring until you don't have nothing, no foundation. And this is what I need. This is what I'm trying to get you to, so you can stand on something and be proud and know your heritage and where you come from, and be able to defend your posts. It's called apologetics. To be able to defend your posts when somebody tell you that you other than what you are, because all you can do at this point is argue and fight and say 4-letter words and get on a level, but you don't have no history to support what you saying, and you more than that. Okay, Exodus 3:1 says, now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. I'm gonna even get into that too, because see, oftentimes when we look at this whole thing about a priesthood, we don't understand, and we need to understand that before the Levites were formed, which is of the elect, okay, the children of Israel, there was another priest. Read your Bible. It says right here, now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock of the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of God, even Horeb. Now, I had talked about, and I'm already at 25 minutes. Ain't that a trip? I had talked about earlier about our significance and about Moses being taught he was taught in the courts of Pharaoh or in the courts of Egypt out of Ethiopia, and that he was a general. And that the Bible does not really illuminate, it does not polarize these areas of Moses, but that's where he came from, and that's the training that he got. So when we talk about different tribes of people in antiquity, and we go back and we talk about the Ethiopian folks and we talk about the Egyptian folks, those people, when you look back at their lineage, those folks come from a black origin. They are black people. Even right now today, they don't give black people no credit for the pyramids and the Phoenix, all that stuff. When you look at those statues where the whole body is the body of a lion, and then the head is the body of a person, and when you look at the original nose and lips and stuff like that, it wasn't no pointed nose and no small lips and all that. Those faces on those ancient art, that architectural work that was done back then, those were the reflection of the people of that time. And yet they have taken some of that stuff, redone it to fashion it as it was that of a more white race. That's not true. You gotta read your history. Okay, so Moses had Jethro as a guide. He was a priest. It was Jethro that was the one before the children of Israel, the Levite priesthood. Jethro was the one that was praying for them in the wilderness. It was Jethro. Jethro got that from his father Abraham. Oh boy, I'm telling you, I give you a little history right here. That's where he got that from. So it wasn't that Abraham just laid hands on Ishmael and Isaac, or that he had the relationship with Ishmael and Isaac and it was limited. So if Midian was a priest and he bowed down to Abraham's God as well, where did he get it from? He got it from his daddy. It was passed on from generation to generation. Now he is a priest of Midian, is what they're saying right here. Okay. And he's performing sacraments. Moses is being taught by Jethro, his father-in-law, the father of Zipporah, which is the woman that he married. Not only did Moses get schooling from that, but he also got schooling from the Ethiopian woman, Pharbia, which was his first wife. She was a high princess in the Ethiopian society. Is where Moses was cultivated. He brings all that into the Israelite camp or the Hebrew camp, and he starts now to get a spiritual formation to God. So now he comes in to where we start to recognize him. But we discount his history because we don't know his history. Because it's not talked about. That's why we don't know it. Because his history goes back to black people. And that's the reason why I'm trying to uplift you today and to encourage you and let you know that you are somebody. In a few minutes, I'm gonna show you where all the science and art and all that stuff, all that math, all that stuff, where it came from, architects, big buildings and all that, where it came from black folks, people of dark skin. That's where it originated from. And from there, it moved into all the different people. It moved from there. All right. So we see here that he kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert. Now, we can see in this particular text, and I said here in my notes, that they were friendly to the Israelites. These Midianites were believed to be an offspring of Cush and was probably from one of his sons named Midian. Cush probably had a son named Midian. And that's where these Midians came from. So you have two Midians. You don't have just one Midian. You have a friend to Israel. And doesn't that seem a whole lot? Doesn't it sound like black people? Black people. And you know, I'm not saying this to sound like, I don't want it to sound so pro-black. But I'm black and I know the nature of black people. For the most part, we do war against one another. We do fight one another. We kill each other and all this kind of stuff. But I can say of a truth that black folks don't harbor hatred in the sense that we help everybody. I mean, it don't matter. You can do stuff to black folks. At the end of the day, we welcome everybody into the house. We don't really discriminate like that. It's just not our nature. And this right here sounds like the same thing. It sounds like, you know, here was these black folks. This situation was going on with Israel, which was a different type of race. And you know what? Black folks helped. Give me a couple seconds here and I'm going to come back. I guess I got to do part 5 and hopefully I'll finish. Be right back.